Before we begin, thank you to Prime Matter for sponsoring this video and providing me with a key to their game. Space, the final frontier. If you don't count the ocean, or that weird crawl space in your basement. For centuries, man has stared up into the vast inky darkness with a mixture of awe, wonder, and fear. And as time marched on, and the prospect of exploring that dark void became inevitable, humanity raised their eyes to the sky and in one collective voice, asked themselves, "Hey, do guns work in space?" Scars Above, a third-person action-adventure shooter complete with dodge rolling, skill trees, and a multitude of guns, enemies, and puzzles. Developed by Madhead Games and published by Prime Matter, Scars Above is an interesting blend of genres and game mechanics, combining multiple elements to create something that I can't say I've seen done in recent memory. But before we taste test that particular blend, let's cover the basics of the game so you know what you're getting into. Turns out, mankind is not alone in the universe. An enormous ship, the Metahedron, has suddenly appeared just outside of Earth's atmosphere, but hasn't given any reason for its visit. So, in an effort to discover what, if anything, it wants, humanity throws together a team of scientists and engineers and attempts to make contact. Things don't go so well. Transported to an alien landscape, the team is scattered and lost, and left to fend for themselves in what very quickly becomes a hostile environment. We play as Dr. Kate Ward, an astronaut scientist on the initial contact team. And it's our job to find our team, determine where exactly we are, why we're here, and above all else, survive. How? Why, with scientific data collection, puzzle solving, and the magic of 3D printing. That's how. As you explore the world around you, Kate will prompt the player to analyze any new flora and fauna that she encounters, giving a detailed analysis of what she sees and any possible weaknesses or strengths it might have. Armed with this knowledge, Kate can then develop weapons and gadgets from what she learns with her portable 3D printer. There are 4 types of weapons: electric, fire, ice, and acid. But different variations of each weapon type exist, giving you a little more control over each fight. Weapons can also be improved upon, making your weapons continuously stronger as you make your way through the game. There are also a wide variety of gadgets and consumables you'll unlock as you explore as well. You've got health packs, flammable gas grenades, gravity wells, shields, basically an entire arsenal of alien weaponry and abilities. Speaking of abilities, there's a skill tree. As you progress through the game, you'll find experience cubes both on and off the beaten path. Gather enough cubes and you'll be able to gain a skill. Skills are either offensive or defensive, and you can pick and choose from either side as you see fit. Do you want to regenerate ammo, or would you rather have more health? Quick reloads, or firm footing that keeps you from getting knocked down? Decisions. But don't think you can just shoot your way out of every situation. As you progress through the game, you'll occasionally come across alien puzzles that you'll have to solve in order to progress. Sometimes you'll need to manipulate alien glyphs to make a key work with a door, other times you'll need to shoot locks, and still others will require you to use your spatial awareness to get an object from point A to point B. And amongst all of this crafting, skill building, and puzzle solving, you'll be firefighting your way across alien environments, going up against a multitude of different creatures. They come at you hard and fast, and while you can certainly just pull the trigger of your favorite gun as fast as you can, you'll be much better off if you play against each creature's weakness, and aim for specific weak points. Brains over brawn. And if you do happen to bite the dust, don't worry. Death is not the end. For reasons unexplained, Kate seems to wake up at the pillars found throughout the land whenever she dies. Just one of the many mysteries you'll need to solve while looking for your team and analyzing alien artifacts. Alright, so that's the pitch. If you're like me, you haven't heard of this game until just now, so hopefully I've done it justice and explained exactly what it's offering. But now the real question. Does it pull it off? Well, yeah. And no. Kinda? We'll get into it. Let's start with the things the game does poorly. First up, the difficulty curve. This game is hard. In the beginning, anyway. I played through on medium, and I felt like I was dying repeatedly until I unlocked upgrades for my weapons and a few of the later gadgets. So if you're hoping for a light jaunt, you may want to turn the difficulty down initially. Once you get to about the mid-game, though, the difficulty flattens out, and by the end of the game, I was flying through encounters and bosses. To be fair, I was exploring everything and had gotten literally every upgrade on the skill tree. But with the beginning being so difficult, I guess I was expecting more of the same. Not really a complaint, more of an observation. Speaking of observations, the graphics are, you've got eyes. Not to be rude, but these are some weird looking aliens. Wait, these are like human? For the record, I played this game on PlayStation 4, so I'm not expecting graphical perfection. But if the trailers were anything to go off of, it looks like the character models were about the same on every console. Those consoles being PS4 and 5, Xbox and Xbox One, and PC. Outside of the character models though, I don't have any real complaints about the graphics. There's a couple of weird choices, like how a giant dead body completely pops out of existence if you angle the camera against it, or how using a health consumable doesn't actually have a model. But overall, it didn't take me out of the experience all that much. But that doesn't mean it was a completely smooth ride. I found myself occasionally getting stuck on objects in the terrain, which made engaging in combat around them precarious at best. And I had to adjust to some strange ideas when it comes to controlling my character. For example, you can sprint in this game, but in order to stop sprinting, you have to either perform another action, like pulling out your gun, or stop moving entirely. Otherwise, you'll keep running until your stamina bar is completely empty, which is never a position you want to be in. I also had to learn that sprinting in this game is actually a trap, and should only be used when you're actively fighting a boss or navigating cleared areas. Enemies appear a bit too fast and too close to the player character for my liking, and if you happen to be sprinting when they spawn, your reaction time probably won't be enough to dodge damage. Speaking of dodging, this game expects you to dodge incoming attacks, at least until you unlock certain gadgets. The iframes are perfectly fine in my opinion, and I never felt like I was getting hit unfairly, though it is worth mentioning that the game doesn't give you iframes when you get knocked down. Bit of an unfriendly choice there, but not something to get too upset about, especially if you get the perk that keeps you from getting knocked down. I was a bit upset with the auto-aim feature though. The game offers you 3 settings: none, some, and strong. Being a PC player, I was happy to have the assistance, until I realized that for certain monsters, the auto-aim was actively pulling my aim away from their weak points. I was quite literally fighting the game for control, even on the some option, and eventually decided to turn it off entirely. It worked perfectly fine for about 90% of the enemies I fought, but that last 10% is at least worth mentioning. Load times on the PS4 were a bit long for my taste, especially when I was dying on repeat in the beginning of the game, but that may just be a hardware thing. If the game loads faster on the more modern consoles, which I assume it does, then this is a non-issue. There were a few other minor gripes I had, like some of the puzzles being a little hard to manipulate, and the dialogue and story feeling a little undercooked, but honestly, that's about it. There's nothing game-breaking here, and certainly nothing that made me turn off the game in frustration and disgust. All in all, it's a perfectly passable game. In fact, I had a good amount of fun with this game during the 9 or so hours it took me to beat it. The weapons and gadgets all felt good to use, and the combat itself kept my attention. I had to adjust my strategies to individual enemies, and gaining a new gadget or weapon would give me that familiar sense of excitement, since that meant my strategies could all be fine-tuned to be even more effective. The atmospheres were relatively varied, and all bring their own element to the game, whether it's swamplands with carnivorous leeches, tundras that threaten you with hypothermia unless you can stay warm, or alien vessels with robotic defense systems. The puzzles themselves were a welcome addition as well. They broke up the combat sections rather nicely, and never felt like they repeated themselves. They were always a little different, sometimes wildly so. And on that note, the game has a really good sense of pacing. It never felt like Scars Above was outstaying its welcome, and despite the story beats falling a little flat at the end, I was still interested in getting to the next area, the next weapon, the next challenge. The game certainly has flaws, and if you're looking for the next great space odyssey of our time, this ain't it. But context is important. This game tries to do something different, rather than copy-pasting the exact same tired ideas in an attempt to just catch the wave. It's a third-person shooter / puzzle game / action-adventure game. And while it doesn't do any of them perfectly, I'd argue it does them all well enough. And for that, credit is most certainly due. Again, there were a few odd choices, but these choices feel more like a studio that's learning, rather than malicious intent or outright failure to understand good game design. And if this is the studio's first attempt, I can definitely say I'm interested to see whatever comes next. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a gas grenade fire laser combo to play around with. See that, Kate? I'm something of a scientist myself. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video. As always, it's important to remember that this review was based around my own experiences and opinions, and if you're interested in the game, I'd recommend checking out other reviews for Scars Above as well, because more data gathered means a more informed decision. Thank you again to Prime Matter for sponsoring this video and giving me a key to their game. And for the rest of you at home, that's all I've got. Take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.